2006 Feast. Yeah, wow. Mainly because I think the movie itself, when it initially came out, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I was totally caught up in the whole Project Greenlight 3. I'm one of the few people that actually has the entire series on DVD, because I recorded them all when they came on Bravo, and we were involved in making C for Chaos at the time. And so I totally identified with the story of this director at the helm of a big feature, and then not necessarily everybody is playing along with him or trying to help him. He's having to deal with all this stuff. But anyway, in the end, the end result, the final product, the Feast, was really good. Very stylish. I love the cinematography in it. The action is innovative and exciting. The gore is over the top. The humor is, although a little off at times, it's still very enjoyable monster-rama romp, about a group of people trapped in a bar. And it makes for a fun time, and John Gulager's directorial touches are very, very stylish, very classy at times, very also very postmodern, but also very classic. I mean, he does, kicking the tripod again, he does a little bit of everything. And what made the Feast go over the top, I didn't realize it was as good as it was when it first came out, were the sequels, because they just take the whole thing further. To me, these represent the Evil Dead series of the new Millennium, Feast 2, Sloppy Seconds, where they pick up with the survivors of the bar the next day. It's great. they wander into the next town, and what do you know? There's monsters there too. These 3, the happy finish. I bet you'll never guess what happens in this one. But talk about a movies that really subvert expectations. All of it, they did in the first one, but they were really held back by the producers. They were under the spotlight of being on the Project Greenlight show. But then when they got the go ahead for 2 and 3, the executive producers didn't pay any attention to them, so they just made Gulager and those guys just made Patrick Dunstan and Marcus, what's his name, but the 2 writers and Gulager, they just did whatever they wanted, and they tried to subvert every expectation they possibly could. And at some point, some people will get mad watching these movies. They just go, what, really? That's just too much, or that's too stupid. But I love it. That's what makes them brilliant to me. So 2006, even though that was just the first one, they all go together. This is one you can have a real party watching every one of those. (2007) Pan's Labyrinth, Guillermo del Toro. There we see the Fallen on the cover. Touching, mythic, magical. I'm talking too much about some of these movies, so I'm gonna have to kind of move it along a little bit. But yeah, just a magical world. But yeah, wow. What was the problem I had with this movie? I don't know. It was kind of a downer at the end, but then at the same time, the elements are there that it doesn't have to be a downer at the end, because it's also very beautiful and poignant too. But it's so fanciful and amazing. I mean, it's probably the most imaginative movie of the past decade. I mean, just the creatures that are in it, the mythology that's represented, the world that's presented. It's just captivating and a very heart-wrenching and brutal story, but just amazing storytelling on every level from Guillermo del Toro. And he's, as a creator, has kind of taken his foot off the gas over the years, because he just did the Hellboy sequel, and he's been producing a lot of things, but he's been producing good movies, like The Orphanage was excellent. I'm looking forward to Are You Afraid of the Dark, mainly because he's producing it, so I figure, hey, he'll probably hit another one out of the park. Okay, here's one that'll be interesting. George A. Romero's Diary of the Dead, 2008. Why does this go here? I love this movie. How many times have I watched it? Over and over and over. I totally identify with it. Peter Travers of the Rolling Stone has got it right there. 4 stars, a masterpiece. George Romero goes back to his roots, political subtext, social subtext. He updates it for the YouTube generation, you and me, you and I, us. Oh man, you can't watch this movie enough. I mean, just look at it. You want to talk about meta? You want to talk about postmodern? It goes beyond. Some people, at times it hits you a little bit over the head, but it's re-envisioning his zombie, the genesis of what became his epic zombie story that started with Night of the Living Dead. It's basically a remake of Night of the Living Dead, but it's called Diary of the Dead, and it's told point of view today. What if it was today instead of 1968? Man, good scares, great imagery, good Grand Guignol imagery, classic. Oh man, so much good stuff. The Mummy Zombie, it's one of my favorites. I so want an action figure of that, and one of the Mummy Zombie chasing the Texan girl. I mean, come on, if you're a horror fan, how can you not like that scene? And then the social subtext about a world at war, and here we are, a world, shit, not at war, but on the verge of apocalypse. I mean, we've got all this shit going on, fires in Texas, the tsunamis in Japan. Your heart goes out to all of them. And what can you do? The best we can do is record ourselves and put it on the internet. 2008, Diary of the Dead. Go watch it. 2009, Trick or Treat. This is not my Blu-ray. My Blu-ray is actually in there next to the player, but I have the DVD as well. Which I was not happy with the DVD. I only bought this version because I got it on the cheap, a used copy. Because I like to have commentary tracks and good extras, and the DVD is pretty bare bones, but the Blu-ray has all that good stuff, and I got that, wow, on the cheap, $10 at Walmart. And a Paquin, man, they screwed up when they didn't release this in the theaters. 2009, Trick or Treat. When I initially heard about this, I thought it was going to be a remake of that old, Trick or Treat, the movie with Boner and Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne. But, so I actually kind of didn't pay attention to it for the longest time. I thought, man, who would want to remake that? But, once people started watching it and horror fans started talking about how fantastic it was, it's like, well, I got to check it out. And yeah, the first time I saw it, I didn't even realize what I was in for. I enjoyed it. I jumped at it. I had a good time. But then I thought, well, it's not as good as everybody's saying. But then I thought about it. It just stuck in the back of my head, like the spirit of Halloween, man. This is the new seminal Halloween movie. You have to play this every Halloween along with John Carpenter's Halloween. It's going to be the new tradition for everybody, and it just started a couple years ago, so you can jump on early. But it just tells the story of Halloween, and woe to those that break the rules of Halloween night. Again, postmodern, self-referential, all that. It's also very much an anthology story, but it's all linked together. It's finally interwoven. The best anthology since Creepshow, in my opinion, or Tales from the Hood, at least, right? Trick or Treat. Okay, so that's the knots, but I have to throw in 2010 Splice. Blew me away. It's been a while since we've had an actual a brilliant science horror film come along, and this one does it all. I mean, challenges the boundaries of not only life and death, but of family, of relationships. Whew. I don't even know what to say about this. You have to go watch my review on it. It's one of those movies I have a lot of crazy thoughts on, and people, again, Splice, you love it or hate it. But people always talk about certain moments in it where they just laugh. They say they laughed out loud or whatever. And I think, well, yeah, that's right, but you had an emotional response. You were caught up. And man, when I was watching the theater, the whole audience was like, no. And when you can get people to yell at the screen, as a filmmaker, that's the desired goal that one has. But when you're there with the audience yelling along, you're caught up in it, and it just challenges so many things. I thought it was very Cronenbergian in a lot of ways. The story of the two scientists trying to create life. Originally, they're trying to create a protein, then they mix it with human DNA, specifically the female scientist's DNA, Clive and Ilsa. If you want to talk about postmodern and self-referential yet again, Clive and Ilsa, Frankenstein, quest to create life, God against man, God against nature, man against God. And then what happens challenges the boundaries of family, where they become a family but they're not really, and then they're perverted, dark, twisted. And what happens? Who's really the monster? Is it the monster or the maker? Yeah, Splice. Wow. So there you go. And then the best movie of 2011, Scarecrow at Midnight. Yay! No, sorry, I'm just joking about that. But hopefully, if you see it, you'll dig it and you'll enjoy it. Anyway, that's what I think are the the best movies of the past decade. There are a lot of movies I didn't mention. I mean, Audition, Frailty, The Ring. You know, you can see them right here on my shelf. The Woods, Jeepers Creepers 2, Monster Man, not so much. Slither, Altered, The Host, Dead Silence, 30 Days a Night, Zodiac, Wreck, Cloverfield, The Ruins, Zombieland, Martyrs, yeah, Saw series. The list goes on, but I tried to bring you the cream of the crop, or at least the way that you're in my vault. I'm showing you this is the way I feel about it. So there you go. Thanks for joining me. Check us out at mutantville.com. See you guys.